Got a good thumbnail. Well, guess where we are?
We're in a new place again.
Yeah.
We keep just popping up in different spots all
Yeah.
the time. It's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
You never know where you're going to find us.
Yeah, when we say new things are coming, we mean new things are coming.
They're already here, actually.
Yeah, they're here. They're here.
Yeah.
Well, it's exciting, though.
I think
Super
so.
exciting.
I mean, I have gone back to work after 17 years
Wow.
of not working. And
Really?
I never, ever, ever thought I'd be doing this again.
But God did. It's a really cool story.
Yep. I am teaching home ec to middle schoolers at Mountain City Christian Academy, formerly known as ACS,
Right.
Anchorage Christian School. So I'm very excited. We're in my classroom
Yeah.
on Wednesday. Today was new student orientation, so I had to be here. And it was just easier to
Yeah.
record here than to try to go anywhere else. And Dee could not be here because they had doctor's appointments.
Right.
So it's us two, girl.
Yeah, we miss our girl, but
Yeah.
we are here to stand in the gap.
Yes, we are.
So,
For her.
yeah.
So and honestly, this is probably going to change a little bit. The time frame
Yeah.
is
Time
going to have
frame.
to change.
Yeah, we'll be available at your beck and call, though. All you have to do is push a button.
Yep.
Right?
Text
Push
us,
that
email.
button when you want to.
We will still be recording on Tuesdays.
Yes.
But the time will be a little bit, the live time will be a little bit
Yeah,
different.
the live time.
And we'll let you know, we'll put it in okay, you know how we're supposed to put a picture on?
Yeah.
Okay, how'd you like our picture today? We brought our lunch
Yeah, we did.
and we forgot to take a picture of it.
Yeah. So we'll just tell you we had sandwiches.
Yeah.
Let's see.
We
We're
brown
in
bagged it.
school and we brown bagged it. Yeah, there you go.
So it worked. But next week we will let you know when we make that first initial post of what time
Yeah.
that we will be live.
Mm-hmm.
It will be a little bit later.
Yeah.
I have to get into honestly get in the groove
Yeah.
of going back to teaching.
Yeah.
And, everything is just kind of hinging on that at the moment.
Yeah, but what's so cool is God does things that you can't even imagine. He
Yeah.
puts the dream within your heart and then he executes it maybe in a different way than
Yep.
you thought. So Betty's got her little cafe all set up here. It's adorable, and someday she'll show you. She'll maybe post a picture afterwards,
Yeah.
but she's got little white and red checkered tables for the kids.
It has a retro vibe, a diner
Totally.
vibe.
Yeah.
And Denise is talking about, I've always wanted my own coffee shop.
Yep.
Myself and my daughters,
Yeah.
we've always wanted to open one and to serve food. The menu would be very limited. We would do a breakfast item and maybe a lunch item, and then close for the day. But right now, this is what it looks like.
Yep.
Teaching 6th, 7th, and 8th graders how to cook. And I'm very excited. I
Yeah.
can hardly wait. I met a lot of them today. And I figure, it's an hour a day. I can do that.
Oh, yeah.
It's an hour a day, 4 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good. I'm excited.
Yep. They're
And
going to have a blast, and she will too.
I think so. I'm really looking forward to it. And it has to be from God because I didn't go searching for it. It actually came to me out of the blue.
Yeah, that's how God works, right?
Just out of the blue.
Yeah.
So I'm excited and looking forward to it.
Yeah. So what's coming up?
907 Moms,
In person. Yeah. So we're
September the
gonna start.
6th.
Yeah. So if you're not signed up on our Facebook page, well, you probably are if you're seeing this, but anyway, get all updates and that. So September 6th.
And neither one of us have the book.
No, we don't. I've got mine ordered. I did order mine.
Mine's ordered too.
And but it's Habits of the Household by Jim somebody. Sorry, I don't remember it. We can put a link in the bottom.
It was on
that.
sale
Yeah.
on Amazon.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's still on sale or not, but I'd go look and see if I were you. It was half price.
Oh.
Or no, it was
I might.
$10 because I only gave $10 for mine.
Oh, interesting. I'll have to look. Maybe I'll order another one and return the other one. Save $10. I have free returns. But anyway, yeah, so that's starting up. And then just a reminder, as we know, as you guys know, we've done the 1-year Bible for this summer, but our Bible study together, and hopefully any of those that would like to join us, we're going to be doing Colossians starting September 10th.
That's from the Daily Grace Company.
Yes.
And they have been having a big sale.
Mm-hmm.
I think the books were $10.
Yeah.
So go get your book. It takes about 3 weeks to get it. But we are not starting until, I think it's the second week in September,
September 10th,
so that we would be done before the holidays.
right?
It's a 6-week study, but we'll make it 12 weeks because we're slow.
And it will be done before Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
That's
was
a
our
good
plan, and that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's it. Anything else that we can think of?
No, not at all.
Hopefully, real soon we'll have some news about Chit Chat. We've been working on
Yes.
some things.
Yep.
And
Women of all ages together.
and we've also been working on some changes for our live broadcast.
Right.
We're
We've
hoping
got
to-
new ideas.
So stay tuned, girls. We just do not know what the future's going to hold or what it's going to look like, but we're excited.
But God is good.
Very excited.
Yeah, we are.
Okay, today we are in Esther. And if you've been with us for any time, you know we just finished the Bible study on Esther last winter. Was that when we did it?
Yeah, it was the first one we did, so it had to be January, February-ish.
Yeah.
But it feels like an old friend,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
It was interesting as I was reading these passages, I kept thinking about our Bible study.
Yep.
And everything that we learned. And one of the things that we learned was that there is no mention of God in the book of Esther.
Yes.
And we were asking each other, wonder why.
Yeah.
And we don't have an answer.
Right.
We need to investigate that.
Right.
There's no mention of God, but you can see God's hand in every page
Yeah.
of the book of Esther. How he orchestrated events, how he's working behind the scenes to make things happen.
Yeah. And Esther is a fruition of a story that began during Abraham's time because of the animosity between the Jewish people and Haman's people, which were the Agagites, and how he used a Persian king while God's people were in exile to give them favor and hand over authority to them to rescue their people from extinction, really. Yeah. And he didn't even mention his name.
Yep. It did. And we also sometimes tend to think of Esther as being this great romantic love story, but it
Good
was
point.
not that way at all.
Right.
She was literally taken from her home
Right.
and from the people that she knew, the people she loved, and put in the palace. And her job was to go sleep with the king. And if she pleased him, he would choose one of them to be the next queen.
Isn't that trafficking?
Today is probably what we would call it. But if she was not chosen, the woman that was not chosen, it wasn't just Esther. There was, I don't know if we even know how many hundreds, maybe 100 women, 100 young girls, not women, virgin girls that were taken from their homes and they were prepared for a year. They went through
Yes.
all these spas,
Yep.
treatments,
Yep.
sauna treatments, massages to get their skin glowing and to get them ready for their night with the king.
Yeah, and their Bible even gives specific oils that they used and herbs and stuff.
To make their skin soft,
Yeah.
make it glow.
Right.
And if they were not chosen, after they spent the night with the king, if they were not chosen to be the queen, then they were put in another place to live, but they could never marry or have children after that. So it's not this grand love story, this romantic love story that we think about.
No
Yeah.
Hallmark movie
Nope.
here.
No, this was drama, real life
Yeah,
drama.
for sure.
It ended up in a good note for Esther.
For Esther.
But for the women or the young girls that were not chosen, they were lived in the king's palace somewhere, but they could never marry or have children after that, which is sad. Anyway, in our reading today, we're at the point where Haman has been impaled. He's been killed because of his deceit and his treachery.
Yep.
And it's interesting because if you don't know the background, you need to go get your Bibles and
Yeah.
read this
Read the book.
because we're not going to be able to go through all of it.
Right.
But Haman he was a leader in the king's court, and he hated the Jews. I mean, he literally hated the Jews, especially Mordecai, who was Esther's
Cousin.
cousin.
Mm-hmm.
And Haman had gone to the king. The king was not really a good king.
No.
Not really. He did not look
Lead.
after his people well. He
Right.
did not lead well. And Haman had gone to the king to ask to make this law, this decree against the Jewish nation. And the king literally took his ring off and said, "Here, do whatever you want."
Right. He was in second command.
Yep.
He had given him the power to be in second command. So right, he gave him his insignia ring, and whatever was marked in that ring was not to be ever overturned.
Yes.
What was done is
Was
done.
And so Haman wrote this law that on March the 7th, every Jew would be killed. He wanted to wipe out the entire Jewish nation. Esther was a Jew, and nobody knew, and she kept it hidden, a secret. And Mordecai, so in today's time, Haman would type this out on his computer. He made all these copies
Yeah.
and nailed them on every telephone pole, light pole, wherever he could find, every tree.
Mm-hmm.
So the word has gotten out to the Jewish nation, to the Jewish people, what's going to happen. They are in turmoil. They are so upset. They're crying. Mordecai finds out, and he approaches Esther. And
I think you made a good point when we were talking between us, is that in this position, the Jews could not fight back.
Right.
They were helpless completely.
they were going to be completely destroyed, the entire nation.
Right.
And so there's a lot more that happened, but to make a long story short, Haman was eventually killed for his actions. And so now Esther has the favor of the king to do whatever she wants. You know, the king had no knowledge of what Haman was doing because he was not a good leader. He did not, he trusted his people whether they be good or bad. He trusted them,
He did.
which was, it's a good thing to trust your people, but only if they're doing the right things. Haman was doing the wrong things.
And
so-
if you're well informed.
Yes.
Right.
And so Esther has come to him again, asking to speak to him. And he tells her, you know, whatever you want, I'll give it to you. And he again takes off his ring and gives it to her. And so she writes out a decree that on March the 7th, the Jewish people can defend themselves. That's where we're at today. It's your turn. I've talked and talked.
Well, what was good is that they were able to defend themselves, and they did defend themselves. And then it says, so I looked up, so how much land, was that King Xerxes, power over? And it was like 2.1 million miles.
Wow.
So it was from like Europe to South America. It was from like India to, what did he say? It wasn't China. Might have been Russia. It was this massive amount of power and land. So when it says that these decrees went out among the provinces, it would take weeks and months to get to some of these provinces. It's 127 provinces. So also, the good decrees that they could fight the Jewish people throughout all this land scattered, not just in the city of Susa, they would also need to know that they could defend themselves. And so that happened, and in just the city of Susa, in that battle, 500 men were killed. Throughout the whole province, 75,000 were killed. God gave favor. And then Esther still had the attention of the king and the love of the king. And the next day he said, okay, this has happened. These many people have been killed. What more do you want? What more do you want? He must have really loved her. And he said, she was like, I would like one more day to defend ourselves. And so basically, like you said, complete victory. She wanted complete victory.
And what actually happened when the decree went out that the Jewish people could defend themselves, many of the non-Jews decided to become Jews because they were afraid that they would be killed. They knew the strength and the power behind the Jewish nation, and they converted to become a Jew to save themselves.
That's so cool.
I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah. So then the end of this chapter talks about celebration. So while they fasted and while they mourned under the direction of Esther, then they had a decree that they would celebrate, and that it would be a festival that they would be remember, and their people would remember their whole lives from generation to generation.
And it's called the Festival of the Purim.
Yeah.
And they still celebrate that.
They do.
I always, when it says they will never forget, they will remember it always, they'll pass it down from generation to generation. I always highlight that, and I think, okay, are we doing that? Do we remember this? Because this was a huge victory for the
Absolutely.
Jewish nation and for Esther.
Right. And Purim means lots.
Yeah, casting lots.
Yeah, and that started with Haman. He casted the lots as to when the day would be that he would destroy the Jewish people. And obviously God turned it into a celebration because he took care of his people, even though his name was not mentioned in the book.
Even though his name was not mentioned. And it ends, our reading today ends in chapter 10, but it talks about how powerful Mordecai became. He became the prime minister. I think that's what they called him. He was,
Verse 3.
yep. And he started out as well, we don't really know what his job was, but he was always outside the palace gates. He did that to keep close contact with Esther, but he must have had some kind of position.
Yeah.
But now he is the prime minister, and it talks a couple of times about the power that Mordecai had and the fear the people had of Mordecai because of the power he had.
Yeah.
But he was not, Mordecai was a good leader. He stood up for his people. He led them in the right direction. We were talking, we've just finished the book of Ezra
Yes.
and Nehemiah, and we can't remember, I didn't go back and look, but Mordecai is listed as one of the leaders, I believe it's during Ezra's day, when they were going to rebuild the temple. And so Mordecai and Esther, Mordecai, Ezra, Esther, and Nehemiah were all peers. They all lived at the same time. And I just find that so intriguing. You know, they could have been doing a podcast like this or something.
I mean, who knows?
Whatever was happening in their day, they knew each other and they worked together on, I don't think Esther worked on the wall or the temple, but apparently Mordecai did. And so I just think that's cool, how God weaves it all together.
It is so intriguing. Pretty cool.
Okay, so then we go to 1 Corinthians 12, chapter 27 through 13, verse 13.
Yeah.
And this is talking about how we're all part of the same body. And the body of Christ, which is the church, where we all have a specific job or a specific assignment.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch listed. First are apostles, second are prophets, third are teachers, then those who do miracles, those who have the gift of healing, those who can help others, those who have the gift of leadership, and those who speak in unknown languages. It goes on to speak about how important all these jobs are. One is not better than the other one. One is not more important than the other one. And somewhere along the line, we all have a spiritual gift.
Right.
Not somewhere along the line. God gives those to all of the believers.
Upon salvation, the filling of the Holy Spirit. We know that from other passages. Yes. And that they all have purpose within the church.
Yes.
Because it literally says, in verse 28, it says, for the church. Okay. It's not for ourselves, it's for the church. And then what's really cool is this whole passage, while it ends in talking about these spiritual gifts, it rolls right into, I'm almost wondering there shouldn't really be a chapter break, because immediately it says, okay, well, this is what, while these are important, this is the most important thing. The last verse in chapter 12 of Corinthians says, so you should earnestly desire the most helpful gifts. But now let me show you a way of life that is best of all. In other words, this is good, but listen, this is the gold standard. This is the ultimate standard. And then he immediately goes into, we call it the chapter of love,
Mhm.
you know, and it's obviously unconditional love, the kind of love that we get and receive from the Lord.
Mhm.
But then we're actually supposed to live this way also.
Well, and while all these are great,
Yeah.
these gifts, these jobs are important. If you don't have love, you might as well
Right.
forget any of them.
Right.
I've heard it said so many times, people want to know how much, people don't care how much you know
Right.
until they know how much you love them,
Right.
how much you care about them. And that is so true, and it talks about that in chapter 13. It gives all the characteristics of love, and sometimes I don't like to read that because I fail.
Oh, it's so convicting.
It says, love is patient and kind.
Yep.
Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. Oops. It is not irritable. Oops. And it keeps no record of being wronged. Should we stop there?
It's a lot to handle just in those few things.
It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful, and endures through every circumstance.
That's convicting.
That's love. That is true love.
Yep.
That is the greatest gift that we have and that we can give to others.
Yep. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, let's close it out, this chapter, by, it says verse 13. And Betty's already said this in a nutshell. It says, these things will last forever. So basically, it's pointing back to the end of the chapter previously in chapter 12 and saying, you know, this gifting, these gifts, those are temporal. But it says these will last forever. Faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. So it's kind of cool to see, we know this. This is like almost cliche because it's been quoted so much and talked about so much. But in light of the gifts, I think that's good for us to remember.
You cannot love somebody too much.
Right.
You cannot have too much faith, and you cannot have too much hope. You know,
Yeah, well said.
we can't love our kids too much. We can't love our spouses too much. We can't love our parents too much. We can't love our siblings too much.
And in even saying that, I mean, there's wisdom in knowing that loving somebody in a healthy way
Yes.
with appropriate boundaries. And sometimes love is hard when you have to say hard things even. But obviously, the truth is best received in love. So, anyway. So
Okay.
now,
Psalm 37, 1 through 11. I can hardly wait to get to Proverbs because it's so good.
it's very good. It reminds us, I mean, I loved this psalm today. You know, it just reminded us. And one of the key words is trust in the Lord. And then he says, do good, take delight in the Lord, commit everything you do to the Lord, trust in him, reminding us again, trust him. He will help us. If we ask him, he will help us. Be still in the presence of the Lord. Stop being angry. Okay, this goes back to what we just learned about in the last chapter. You know, stop being angry. Turn from your rage. Do not lose your temper. It only leads to harm. That's just simple wisdom. But those who trust in the Lord will possess the land. You know, and then at the very end, it talks about humility. And it says the lowly will possess the land and will live in peace and prosperity. Lowly is another word for humble. So, anything else you want to say?
That's very, very encouraging. I think it's good. When I get angry, I tend to shut down and just stop, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Because if I start
That's
talking, I will say things that I regret. So, but when I get
Smart.
angry, I just kind of stop. At least I try to.
Well, I'm a firstborn.
I am too.
So I keep learning it. I was very young in my faith, high school, probably junior high school, and I came across a verse that says in Psalms, it says, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. I was very aware of how mouthy I could be. So that
That's
really
just hard
has
for me
been
to
one of my-
imagine.
Well, maybe I've had a tiny bit of growth, but there's times when I need that verse.
I
So,
think it's interesting, we have Psalms and then we go right into Proverbs,
Oh,
what it
yeah.
starts with.
go Betty.
Proverbs 21, 23 through 24. This is, okay, these are not my words,
Yeah.
I'm reading it from the Bible.
It's just a warning.
Watch your tongue and keep your mouth shut, and you will stay out of trouble. You cannot get more plainer than that.
Yeah, you can't.
I mean, these are God's words.
Yeah,
Watch your tongue, keep your mouth shut,
yeah.
and you'll stay out of trouble. Isn't that true?
It is so true.
I mean,
It is so true.
just stop.
Yep.
Stop talking, and you keep yourself out of trouble. And the last verse is, mockers are proud and haughty. They act with boundless arrogance.
Yeah.
But I love that first verse. It's
Mhm.
very convicting. But it also gives you direction what to do.
Absolutely.
You know, when you get upset or things don't go your way and you're angry, just be quiet.
Well, that's what you just said.
Mhm.
You know, when you get angry, you just kind of shut down. And honestly, that is a gift.
Is it? I never thought of it like that, but I'm going to
Well,
take it
is.
like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Lord, please help me to apply that same thing. I do like the ending. It says mockers are proud and haughty. Because we were talking about humility just a minute ago, and it says they act with boundless arrogance.
How much arrogance is that?
Ugh.
Boundless.
There's no limit, no
Mhm.
restraint. I think of like no restraint.
Yep.
And boy, do we hate to be around a person like that.
Mhm.
I do. But boy, I don't want to be that person either. And so I looked up, okay, so what is a mocker? And mocker is someone who might tease or laugh, but they do it in a very sly and deceptive way, and they show contempt. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that hurts.
Mhm.
And so anyway, something to think about.
Do we have anything else?
No, I think that's a load.
That
Right
is a lot.
there.
We talked a lot more than I thought we would.
There's a lot in God's word.
It is.
Ugh.
All right, stay tuned
Yep.
for next week. Stay tuned for our announcement
Mhm.
about what time we'll be live next week. It will be on Tuesday.
Yep.
We're just not quite sure about the time
And
yet.
if we remember, we'll give you a warning.
Yes. We will do our best. I don't know what has happened to us about
I
that.
know, we've gotten lax, I don't know. We just,
I think we're just so excited to see each other.
I-
When
it
it gets
pretty
started,
much.
we just kind of
It
start
really
going,
is.
blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah,
Yeah,
and then we
totally.
forget.
And then we just are hungry and we dig in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're hungry. We miss our friend. We miss
do.
Dee.
We
but
do.
she should be back with us next week.
Yeah.
All right, girls. Bye. Have a
Bye.
good week.